I did this video a couple of days ago talking about Alexander Usyk vacating his IBF heavyweight title, and I wasn't sure what the reason was. I said I was a little bit surprised because there was no decision as far as we knew at the time from the IBF, so I thought he could have held on to the belt if he wanted to. And a lot of you guys who commented have expressed your opinions, and there are quite a few people who say that he has done this simply to spite Tyson Fury, to give him the middle finger and say, ha ha, I won all the heavyweight titles and you can fight me in the rematch, but win or lose, and you're not going to win, but you may think you will win. You're not going to get all the heavyweight titles anyway, so no undisputed for you. And I wouldn't be shocked if that is the reason. I don't think it is personally, but that's one possibility. A lot of other people are saying that it has something to do with these photos recently of Turki Alalshikh hanging out with Anthony Joshua. And you can see here Tyson Fury's on FaceTime with Joshua, and it's okay. A lot of people are saying that Turki Alalshikh may have had a word with Alexander Usyk and said, look, we really want this Anthony Joshua-Daniel Dubois fight to go ahead. Joshua and his team were only interested if the IBF title is on the line, so hint hint, help a brother out. And that, I think, possibly did happen, because Turki Alalshikh, he's a very smooth operator. He knows that there's a lot more that goes into making big fights than just being a fight fan. You need to be able to get along with a lot of different personalities, and a lot of them have huge egos, particularly in a sport like boxing. And you need to be able to get certain people what they want, and that involves talking to the opposite side. And he's a good businessman in that sense. And the way that he's been able to get Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, and lately Ben Shalom to work together has been very impressive. So I think Turki Alalshikh probably did have a word with Alexander Usyk. And the other thing is that if Anthony Joshua beats Daniel Dubois, it makes this Tyson Fury fight a lot more attractive to Tyson Fury, because he can say, well, I've got a chance to fight this big stiff bodybuilder, make a boatload of money, more money than I will in the Alexander Usyk rematch, and win a version of the heavyweight title while I'm at it. And we all know Tyson Fury is the master of being a con artist and milking certain titles and just lying and making up narratives that don't make any sense. And yeah, he's an expert at that. So if he gets another heavyweight title under his belt, excuse the pun, then we're probably in for a whole lot more of that nonsense. So yeah, I think the most likely scenario is that Turki Alalshikh did have a word with Alexander Usyk. And then a lot of you guys talked about how Usyk doesn't need the distinction of defending his heavyweight titles or the undisputed heavyweight championship. And I agree, he doesn't. But Alexander Usyk, he's a throwback fighter. He's all about the prestige of fighting the best. Like, this is one of the very few guys in boxing who, since stepping up to world level, has not had an easy touch. Yes, I know he fought Chaz Witherspoon, but that was a last-minute replacement. He literally does not take easy fights. It's not in this guy's DNA, and that is so rare at this level. It's insane. And he is very much about the honor of, again, not only taking on the best fighters in the world, but having the belts on the line. Hence why in the Super 6, he took on all the champions back-to-back, won titles back-to-back, and, as I mentioned in my previous video, this one here, again, if you haven't seen it, he then defended the undisputed titles against the one championship caliber fighter who he hadn't faced, and that was Tony Bellew. So I was thinking that Alexander Usyk may have wanted the prestige of defending all of the undisputed heavyweight titles, but it really doesn't matter. And as far as what Alexander Usyk should do going forward, personally, I would be perfectly happy if he retired now, because what Alexander Usyk has done has been so incredibly impressive. I have mentioned this before. and I still want to put out a video talking about this in great detail, that not only do I believe he is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, I think he has proven himself to be the greatest fighter of this era. So the greatest fighter since Floyd Mayweather, I think he has proven that. And his resume is so incredibly impressive when you look at the amount of champions he's fought, where he's fought them, how often he has, again, been taking on the best fighters in the world, taking on top challengers in between fighting for unifications, and at heavyweight, how he's at such a huge discrepancy in size, and he's still managed to remain undefeated. It's, again, incredibly impressive. And I'm not somebody who puts a whole lot of weight into fighters being undefeated. For example, I don't have Rocky Marciano ahead of a lot of heavyweight greats just because he was undefeated. I don't have Floyd Mayweather ahead of fighters in the Four Kings. I don't have him ahead of a lot of those guys because he was undefeated. But Alexander Usyk is an interesting case because he's not only undefeated, but again, this guy has, in my opinion, the most impressive resume of this era. And again, I could talk about that until the cows come home, but I will put out more videos talking about that in great detail. So, in conclusion, I'd be more than happy if Alexander Usyk walked away right now, because talent-wise, I don't think there's a heavyweight out there who can touch him. When you saw the fights between Zhilei Zhang and Deontay Wilder, Daniel Dubois and Filip Hrgovic, I personally looked at that, and I know a lot of people on Hatman's Element Group did as well, and thought, man, Alexander Usyk getting close to 40 could still whoop these guys. And I agree with a lot of them. I think Alexander Usyk, talent-wise, can beat almost every heavyweight around. The thing is that he's a small guy, and he's not the most athletically gifted guy in the world. Like, if you compare him to Vasyl Lomachenko is more athletically gifted by comparison. Usyk is not that athletically gifted, which, again, makes it even more impressive. He's been able to remain undefeated, taking on the challenges that he has. And when you are a small guy and you are, again, not the most athletically gifted fighter in the world, size is going to play a much bigger factor as you get older. And Usyk is getting close to 40 now. He is outsized by these guys already. That's just going to become more and more apparent, I think, next year alone. So, while I think talent-wise he could beat a Zhilei Zhang, I think he could beat, he's already beaten Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua. I think he can beat a Jared Anderson. I think he can beat a Martin Bakole. I think he could beat Joseph Parker. That is a fight I would really like to see. Eventually, because these guys are all bigger than him, they are going to have a much bigger advantage than they would normally have due to the talent discrepancy, simply because they're so much bigger and he's getting older. So I feel that Alexander Usyk, in other words, doesn't need to hang around to give these guys an opportunity to beat him. Like, how often have we heard Eddie Hearn and a lot of Anthony Joshua superfans talk about, oh, if Joshua just gets back in there and lets his hands go more, he can win. Well, he tried that in the second fight. And is he going to have more success in the third fight? I wouldn't be shocked. But is it because Anthony Joshua is the better fighter? No. Alexander Usyk has proven that he is better than Anthony Joshua. But, again, much bigger size difference between them. Anthony Joshua is only around 33 years of age, so he's got plenty of time left to reach his peak in terms of talent. Alexander Usyk, again, is getting close to 40. I just don't think he needs to give these guys the time to catch up to him when he has more than earned the right to retire undefeated, again, because he's never taken on an easy challenge in his entire career. So in terms of why Alexander Usyk vacated the IBF title, it's anyone's guess. But in terms of his legacy and, should he have vacated, was it despite Tyson Fury, who knows. But again, for Alexander Usyk's legacy, I feel he should retire right now, but it's completely up to him. And lastly, this whole maybe to spite Tyson Fury thing, if Tyson Fury was really agitated by this, he's certainly not going to show it. And if you listen to Spencer Brown here, Tyson Fury's manager, he is saying that Tyson's not affected at all by Usyk vacating the belt. Make of that what you will. Personally, I wouldn't be shocked if Tyson Fury is looking for a way out of the fight. I am not convinced he is going to go through with it. I'm also not thinking, by the way, he's going to pull out, but I just do not trust this guy whatsoever. I mean, how can you trust him? So I could see him looking for a way out of the fight, and belt or no belt, I don't think it's really going to change that. I think it comes down to whether or not Tyson Fury is going to believe the utter delusion coming out of his mouth, and whether or not he's going to have an honest conversation with himself. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down below about Usyk vacating the belt, why you think he did it, and also what you think about Alexander Usyk's legacy just in general. Do you think as highly of him as I do? Let me know down below, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more.